Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to this very special Wild Rift video where I'll be giving you all a first look at Fiddlesticks. I'm going to be giving you a full complete guide of Fiddlesticks. We'll do the ability rundowns, we'll do combos, we'll do items, runes, and everything else in between. I'm very excited. A big massive shout out as well for Riot for getting me onto the beta server for Wild Rift, which allows me to give you all content for patch 4.4 early. And one of the things is I'm able to give you a full run through and a full educational guide on Fiddlesticks. So really excited to get into this guide. If you don't know who Fiddlesticks is a mage AP jungler who pretty much likes to just scare people. I think that's the main thing. The surprise factor is a big massive thing for Fiddlesticks. Being out of vision, playing around enemy vision is so important for Fiddlesticks to jump out, surprise them, fear them, and do a lot of damage, which we'll see a bit later on when I do a full combo, how much crazy damage you can do with Fiddlesticks. But first things first though, we are going to be running through the abilities. Now there is a little bit of a difference between PC League of Legends and Wild Rift in terms of the abilities, and one thing that's already going to be different is his passive. Now his passive in PC League of Legends is his trinket is replaced by a scarecrow, which he can spawn around the map. A little bit difficult to do on Wild Rift. So Fiddlesticks has a new passive, a harmless scarecrow. After a champion or epic monster takedown, it summons the scarecrow to where they were killed, and the scarecrow fears nearby enemies after charging up for 2 seconds. Now this means that it basically, if any of you play PC League of Legends, Lissandra is the best comparison really with the passive of Fiddlesticks. I think that's the best way that you can talk about Fiddlesticks passive. But basically, anytime that you kill a champion or anytime you kill an epic monster, there's going to be a scarecrow that spawns there, and as it mentions, after it channels after a few seconds, it's going to fear them, which is going to be huge for Fiddlesticks, and I'll explain why in just a second with his first ability. Now you can see that the scarecrow can be removed by enemies attacks whilst it's being charged up. I'll show you quickly how it looks like on the Garen here. I'll quickly kill out the Garen. Hopefully it shouldn't take me too long. He does have a few levels, but basically when I kill him, you can see there a scarecrow spawns. He can be auto attacked, but as you can see, it explodes and it fears them as well. So really big thing for Fiddlesticks is going to be especially during team fights. If there's a team fight where a lot of enemies are grouped up together, they're all going to be together, and if one of them get taken down, then you just do passive after passive, fear after fear, and it's going to be so difficult to deal with. So a very welcoming change, I think most people would say, to the passive. The first ability is Terrify. Another difference, another new thing with Terrify is that this skill is now a skill shot. You can use this ability through minions, you can hit it on multiple enemy champions, and it is a skill shot. It's not a point and click like it is on PC League of Legends, and this is a huge buff and a huge change for Fiddlesticks in general. Now you can see the passive while out of combat and stationary or not visible to enemy or to the enemy team. Fiddlesticks' next damaging ability additionally fears targets here for 2 seconds. So this is when you use your third ability, your second ability, which might be a little bit difficult because most of the time you have to be in melee range, your ultimate as well, which is going to be really big. And this is where the real big fear and scare factor comes in for Fiddlesticks, because being out of vision and playing around enemy vision and using this passive is going to be so important to make sure you just 100 to 0 burst someone pretty much instantly. You can see the active, you summon a crow that attacks enemy champions along its path, dealing magic damage equal to percentage of the target's respective current health. So the more current health someone has, the more damage you're going to be dealing. So you actually want to use your first ability most of the time at the start of team fights, right at the start, because the enemies are going to have more current health. Now if the targets were recently feared, so you can use this with your passive of this ability where you can jump out with your ultimate or use your third ability over the wall, the damage dealt is doubled. So your first ability damage dealt is going to be doubled instead, and you deal a minimum of 120 damage to an enemy champion and maximum 400 damage to monsters. And this is where I really say that, you know, playing around your fear and playing around enemy vision is going to be so important, because getting that double damage down from Terrify is going to be able to allow you to deal so much damage overall which is going to be really, really big for Fiddlesticks in general when it comes to team fights, when it comes to objective controls as well. Most of the time, you don't want to be the one starting the objective. You want to be the one that jumps over, scares everyone, and steals the objective and then kills everyone in his path. So really, really awesome. But as I mentioned, this is a skill shot now, though. So you can see it is a skill shot, and you can fear multiple enemy champions at once. Look at that. Multiple enemy champions feared at once. By the way, the sound is first strike. But the skill shot means that you can use this through minions. You can use this to your advantage on champions, on anything else, and it means you can, when you jump into a team fight, not only is your ultimate going to do a lot of damage and fear, but also your first ability can do double damage on top of that as well. This also might make Fiddlesticks support a thing as well. Very recently they changed Lux's Q to go through minions, and obviously it's a skill shot. They can hit multiple enemy champions. That made Lux support really, really strong, and it is still really powerful at the moment. So I think this is definitely going to be a point where maybe Fiddlesticks support is going to be really good, where you can use this to your advantage, use it through minions, hit an enemy champion, and do a lot of burst damage, especially with your third ability as well. So very excited to see if maybe Fiddlesticks support is going to be the thing. The range is not the biggest though, but the big thing, as I mentioned, is just being able to fear multiple enemy champions at once. I don't think a lot of people realize like how crazy this change is. You know, before on PC League it's a point and click, now it's going to be a skill shot, which is going to make for so much more playmaking potential. Another change, I don't know if this is going to be bigger than the first ability, but let me know down below. This might even be bigger than the first ability, being the skill shot. Now, the second ability of Fiddlesticks is the Harvest, is the one where you just suck out, you know, health and use, you know, heal up over time. But the big thing with this is you're able to move whilst using this ability. You can actually move as well. So, siphons the soul of nearby enemy champions, dealing magic damage, and every 2 seconds for 2 seconds in total. Oh, every second, sorry, for 2 seconds in total. The last strike deals damage equal to the target's missing health. So you want to try and make sure that you channel your second ability throughout the entire fight. And this is really important during the jungle as well. You want to make sure that you channel your second ability throughout the entirety of it, and you don't miss out on any damage potential at all. Because the target's missing health it basically means the more missing health the enemies have, the more damage your second ability is going to do. So once you do your full combo, you kind of want to finish it off with your second ability, because that's when your enemies are going to be low on health. But the big thing is, as I mentioned, is that you can move whilst using this ability, and this means that you can use other abilities whilst channeling your second ability. You can also see that Fiddlesticks heals himself by draining enemies, and you can see all the heal recovery by damage dealt stats there if you want to read through them. But like I said, look at this. So I can use my second ability and I can move around whilst using my second ability. And this means that I can use my second ability, I can use my first ability to fear them. I can also use my third ability whilst I'm channeling my second ability. But the big thing is that you want to make sure that you always stay within range of enemy champions with your second ability. Because say, for example, if you was to use a second ability, you walk out of range, it stops the ability entirely, and you want to make sure you stay within enemies champions range for that last tick on your second ability. You see here, as I channel with my second ability, the last one is going to have that little bit of a crit sign, because it's going to be a percentage of the enemy's missing health. So the more missing health they have, the more damage you're going to be dealing with your second ability. And the best way to do this, and the best way to guarantee that you're most of the time going to stay in range, is use your first ability and then your fear. And by the time your fear ends, you only have to wait about half a second or 1 more second, and then you'll be able to deal the extra bit of damage at the end. So your fear into second ability is going to be a very basic but very effective combo, because it means that the enemy champions can't flash away, they can't use their dashing abilities or anything to escape. They're going to be feared. That means they're going to stay in range with your second ability most of the time. But being able to move now with your second ability, I think is just going to be absolutely huge and a game changer for Fiddlesticks, because you can ultimate, and obviously you move when you ultimate, and you can use your second ability, so you're dealing damage with your second ability and damage with your ultimate at the same time whilst moving, which is, I don't know, completely nuts in my opinion, but hey, take it as you wish. Reap as well is a Fiddlesticks' third ability, very similar to how PC League works. Slashes the target location with its scythe, dealing magic damage to enemies within the area and slowing them by 50%. Enemies in the center are silenced, and that's the one big thing about this ability, is that you can silence enemy champions, so you can make it even more difficult for champions to try and escape. You can fear them, and then when the fear ends, you silence them on top of that as well, whilst channeling your second ability. Again, this can all be used whilst channeling your second ability. So you can see with your third ability, you have this little circle in the middle, and that little circle in the middle is going to be that silence field. So if you hit enemies in that circle, as you can see, they're going to be silenced. But if you hit them on the outer edges, they're not going to be silenced. They're only going to be slowed. So using your third ability and aiming your third ability is going to be very important to try and, you know, silence an enemy champion, because you could do something like silence them into first ability, you know, second ability, to be able to get the full damage output of your second ability. You can see there. So if I do third ability, second ability, they're silenced and then they're feared afterwards. Like, it's very, very powerful being able to use this, you know, insane amount of combos. So silence into second ability, then when they're silenced, they're going to be feared afterwards. So they can't move at all. That chain CC of the silence into the fear is going to allow you to do so much more damage with your second ability. So really, really big. Make sure you aim the ability with the silence. Again, you can still slow even if you don't land this ability, but when you tap it, most of the time it's going to land in the center, as you can see. But sometimes they can dash away, or sometimes it might be a little bit difficult. So sometimes you want to aim it, and obviously you can aim this freely as well. You can aim this as close to you or as far away from you as pretty much possible. So it does have an incredible range as well that you'll be able to use all the way over there. So really, really nice range, really, really nice ability to use, and the silence is going to be very, very effective. Now, this is where the scary part comes in for Fiddlesticks, and where I really think Fiddlesticks is going to shine is his ultimate. Now, his ultimate is going to be the big scare factor, and one that you want to use outside of vision, because you have to channel for 1.5 seconds, and then you blink to the target location and summon a crow storm, dealing magic damage every 0.25 seconds to nearby enemies for 5 seconds. Now, the magic value might not seem that much, but every 0.25 seconds for the next 5 seconds, that means that this ticks 4 times every second. So you're going to get so much extra damage. I mean, 4 times 171, you can do the math for itself. That's like over 600 damage per second, and that will add up over time, because if you stay within that ultimate, and if you use your ultimate outside of vision and fear enemy champions, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to escape. So they're going to be feared for at least 2 seconds with your first ability. They're also going to be feared as well with your passive, you know, with the passive of your first ability as well. So it's going to be insane how much you're able to do in terms of damage if you can isolate someone and do a lot of damage. So I'll quickly show you how the ultimate works. I'm just going to quickly remove the dummies and spawn another enemy dummy here, and I'm going to use this out of vision just so you can see how important it is. You can see at the moment I'm out of vision, so when I use this ultimate over the wall, it's going to fear them, and you're going to see how much damage you can do just with your ultimate. This is with first strike, but the great thing about first strike is that you want to be the person doing the first damage anyway. You want to be the one, you want to be the surprise factor. So I'm going to use my ultimate over the wall here. I'm obviously going to be out of vision. You can see here how much damage I'm able to do. Look at that damage. Full channel of my ultimate, 4,400 damage. That's just with my ultimate, by the way. You can think of like how much you're able to do with the combos as well on top of that. You know, you can do your ultimate into your first ability, the second ability, and then your third ability. Look at that damage. Look at that damage. I'm nearly hitting 10,000 damage with my full combo. Well, I did pretty much hit 10,000 damage because the tick and the damage over time that I've got with Leandre's. That's how much potential Fiddlesticks has in Wild Rift. Now, obviously, if you use this ultimate when you're in vision, then you're not going to be able to fear. Well, you'll obviously be able to do the damage, but you're not going to be able to fear. But the big thing is that enemies are going to realize when you're channeling with Fiddlesticks ultimate. So you don't want to, you know, walk up to an enemy champion, be like, oh, hello, how you doing? You know, I'm going to channel my ultimate. Look how obvious it is. Do you see that channeling ability? It's so obvious to be able to do that. All you have to do is stand a little bit outside of vision, you know, even somewhere like here, even though the enemy dummy is visible. But say, for example, the enemy mid laner is pushing up to like here, for example, where this dummy is. You don't want to gank from the lane. You don't want to gank from this bush. You want to gank from behind. Look how far I can go with my ultimate. I can reach all the way over there. The ganking potential of Fiddlesticks is going to be incredible. And then you'll be able to do the extra damage and obviously channel your second ability as well at the same time. The potential of the ultimate is going to be incredible. But the big thing is with your ultimate is you have to make sure you're out of vision, and you have to make sure that you're going to be able to use it where enemies champions are. Because obviously if you use your ultimate and the enemy champions escape, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to land. And that's pretty much everything with the abilities. In terms of combos, I kind of already showed a combo with the ultimate and also with the other abilities, but I'll show them again anyway. The big thing is obviously using your first ability in combo with your second ability. So fearing champions first and then using your second ability, if you're in a little bit of a skirmish, is going to be very important, because it's going to mean that's going to be harder for the enemies to escape. And obviously you can use your silence on top of that. So you can do silence into second ability into your fear as well, and they're going to be silenced and chain CC'd with the silence and fear. So that's going to be very important. You can also use this as well, like over wall if they're out of vision. You can use the silence over the wall, use your first ability to try and get the bonus damage if they don't walk out of range. You know, say for example they're a lot closer, like here, like right next to the wall. You can use your silence into your second ability into your first ability, and you can see how much damage you're able to do. Just with that little combo there, I just did 5,800 damage. It's a bit more difficult when the third ability is further away, because when out of vision, you have to remember that feared champions move away from you. So if I use my third ability here, then I'm not going to be in range of my first ability. So that's what you have to bear in mind when you have to try and make full use of your first ability. You know, make sure they're close enough in range where you can use your third ability and then your first ability afterwards to try and make full use of that double damage. Now with the full combo is really when things get real with Fiddlesticks. We're just going to remove the dummies, and we're going to add a few dummies here. Let's say a skirmish is happening mid lane. Let's say there's a big massive team fight that's about to happen in mid lane. Again, you don't want to be the one standing here clearing the wave. You don't want to be using your abilities on clearing waves. You always want to be out of vision. You always want to be the surprise factor on your team. So use the ultimate over the wall and use all your abilities to do a ton of damage, just like this. Look at that insane amount of damage I'm able to do. That's like 20,000 damage in total across all of these champions that I've just dealt. So incredible amount of damage. But the way you have to do it is use your ultimate first, and then after you use your ultimate, they're going to be feared. That means you can get the extra damage of your first ability by being able to stack the fears on top of each other. But you want to make sure that you use your second ability as well. So use your ultimate over the wall, use your second ability, and make sure you use your third ability, first ability, sorry, before the fear expires, and then you'll be able to do the full burst damage. So it's ultimate into your second ability, because remember you can move whilst using your second ability. Then make sure you quickly use your first ability, so then when the fear does, so make sure the fear doesn't expire, and then use your third ability on top of that. I'll show you one more time. So it's ultimate into your second ability, into your first ability to get the double damage, and that's your full combo right there. And then your third ability will help with the silence as well. And your third ability is going to be a lot easier to hit with the silence if they are feared as well. And you can see you can do 10,000 damage in total. For the leveling order with Fiddlesticks, I think everything is going to be pretty obvious. The one big thing is, like, you know, do I level my first ability second, or do I level my third ability second? That's going to be the really big thing with Fiddlesticks. But at level 1, what you want to do is you want to go for your second ability first. Your second ability is going to be really, really important when clearing through minions. So you go for your second ability at level 1. This can also allow you to double camp as well. You can double camp with Fiddlesticks, so you're able to use your second ability to kill both the blue buff and the grump at the same time. Then at level 2, you want to go for your third ability, because this is going to do the most amount of damage at that time at level 2. You don't want to go for your your first ability, sorry, at all, because your first ability is not going to do that much damage. Then you want to make sure you have all your abilities available at level 3. Then you want to max your second ability first. And the reason why you max your second ability first is not only going to be the damage, but also the healing goes up and the cooldown gets reduced. So this is going to help you clear through jungle and also help with skirmishes in team fights. Then you want to level up your first ability second. And leveling up your first ability second, you saw when I briefly showed the stats, you know, how much stats you have compared to your third ability. Third ability is just slow percentage, base damage, and cooldown. Your first ability is a really, really big massive amount of cooldown. The current health percentage also gets changed as well, which is really, really big. Minimum damage goes up and the duration of the fear goes up. The big massive thing is that duration of the fear, which is going to help you a lot when it comes to team fights, when it comes to everything else. Your first ability second is very important, and then you go for your third ability last, obviously making sure you level up your ultimate as soon as possible. That is everything with Fiddlesticks. I don't think there's anything else with Fiddlesticks that needs to be said at all. Let's head into the builds and the runes with Fiddlesticks. So everything you need to know about Fiddlesticks in terms of runes and the build as well. So we'll quickly head into that once everything loads up. I already have everything set up for you. So everything is here. There's a little bit of a weird thing now where the runes not moved over, but it's fine. It's just a beta server. It'll be sorted. This is the best rune setup and the item setup for Fiddlesticks. Maybe some of the items might change around. I'll talk to you about the situational items that I have here as well. But with Fiddlesticks, the first item, quote unquote item you want to go for is your boots. Getting your boots upgraded first and getting that extra movement speed to move around the map with Fiddlesticks is going to be very important. Not only that, you're going to have a lot of magic damage with the ability power. You also have the magic penetration and also the mana regeneration, just in case you do run out of mana, which Fiddlesticks doesn't really run out of mana too much, so you're okay with that. But the big thing is a lot of ability power and that flat magic penetration. Now, Crown of the Shattered Queen is going to be a big item for Fiddlesticks. One counter to Fiddlesticks is going to be crowd control. But one great thing about Crown Guard is that you'll be able to grant a shield to yourself that blocks the next hostile ability. And on top of that, you'll be able to reduce incoming damage by 70% for 1.5 seconds. So when you're jumping in with your ultimate, if the enemies look to try and turn around onto you and try and deal a lot of damage to you, they won't be able to, because that channeling of your ultimate and then them focusing you is going to mean that the next hostile ability is going to be blocked. So if it's like an Nautilus ultimate, a Nautilus hook, that's going to be blocked, and then you're going to be taking reduced damage for 1.5 seconds. So all that time that you're going to be doing a lot of damage with Fiddlesticks when you're fearing them and everything, especially with your ultimate, you are going to be taking reduced damage as well for 1.5 seconds, which is big. Also, your AP is increased as well while safeguarded. So if you do proc safeguard, then your AP is increased, and dealing magic damage to enemy champions using active ability will reduce safeguard's cooldown. So your first ability, your third ability, and also maybe your second ability will count. Maybe you have to test it out and see. But the stats as well are absolutely incredible. You know, a decent amount of maximum health, a lot of ability power, percent magic penetration, maximum mana, and ability ace. All great stats for Fiddlesticks. For the second item, we want to go for Awakened Soul Stealer. And the big thing why we go for Awakened Soul Stealer is the passive. So take down some enemy champions within 3 seconds of dealing damage to them, reduces the remaining cooldown of your abilities by 25%. Now, the big thing about this is that you'll be able to use this in, I guess you could say in conjunction, I guess, in a way, with your ultimate and being able to surprise enemy. That surprise factor is going to do a lot of damage, especially with first strike. And that means when you take down enemy champions, you're going to be reducing your remaining cooldowns by 25%. That means that when you use a full burst combo on someone with your ultimate and all your other abilities, if you kill them very quickly within 3 seconds, you can then have the potential to use your abilities again after that, because you're going to be reducing them by 25%. So really important for Fiddlesticks. And again, this item is going to be a little bit of maximum health. The ability power, magic pen is going to be really nice, and also ability ace means you can use your abilities more often. And also the percent magic penetration now is going to be very important for all AP champions, because we don't have void stuff anymore. So getting that flat magic penetration from Awakened Soul Stealer and the boots is going to be important. Death Cap, obviously much better now as a third or fourth item, but still gives you a lot of ability power, gives you that percent magic penetration, and overall increases your ability power. Now, that's your core item. That's your first 3 core items. After that, you could be a little bit flexible. It kind of depends on what you want to, you know, kind of look at in the game. Do you want a little bit more tankiness? Do you want to be a little bit more utility? Then you go for something like Rylai's, which could be able to slow with your ultimate, be able to slow with your third ability, even your second ability when you're channeling as well. So it's going to make it a lot more difficult for enemies to escape. Again, you're not going to be able to do the most amount of damage output maybe with Rylai's, but it's going to give you a little bit more tankiness and also that utility factor. And then you also add in Leandri's Torment on top of that as well, being able to deal bonus magic damage each second. It's going to be quite nice. Again, a little bit more tankiness, a lot of ability power and magic penetration. But if you want to go for the full one-shot potential, then you can go for other items instead, like Infinity Orb, for example. You already saw how much damage I was able to do to enemy champions. Imagine if my damage is going to critically strike for 20% bonus damage when enemies are below 35% health. Imagine if I had that in my build with that full damage combo. That means that you can pretty much burst anyone, and that combo of Infinity Orb plus Awakened Soul Stealer is going to mean that hopefully you're going to be able to one-shot someone pretty much instantly and get the reduced damage on your reduced cooldown, sorry, on your abilities. Trident is going to be very important if you're against any champion. If you're against any champions that are shielding, this item in general is just very good, but also a lot better if enemy champions have shielding. And also you have Omicron if you need the grievous wounds. It's going to be a very important item for Fiddlesticks, just to try and one-shot them and deal as much damage as possible. For the runes, no brainer. First Strike has to be said, one of the best runes for Fiddlesticks. Again, that surprise factor means that you're going to be dealing the damage first, and that damage is going to be increased when you're using your first ability or third ability, and the whole time the enemy champions are going to be feared, so then they're going to have no way to be able to counter that and no way to be able to come back into it. So First Strike, insane for just that surprise factor and dealing a lot of burst damage. Then I think I much prefer to go for the domination runes. The precision runes does sound kind of interesting, where you can go for like Coop, Giant Slayer, to do extra damage, and maybe go for the extra healing from Bloodline. That can definitely help out quite a bit if you want to go for that. But I do like the domination tree a lot better. You know, I think sudden impact is very, very good, because when you're blinking over the wall with your ultimate, you're going to get more magic penetration. Mark the weak means you're going to be marking enemy champions, and they're going to take increased damage again. And then zombie ward, when you're roaming around the map, most of the time you're going to be taking the sweeper trinket, and clearing vision for Fiddlesticks is going to be very important. So you're just going to get that stacking AP, and then you can go for something like maybe Gathering Storm to get that extra AP over time. If you don't want to go for Gathering Storm, you can go for something like Bone Placing instead, which will just help you just in case you get combo damage if you jump over the wall with your ultimate. And Bone Placing will work really well with Crown Guard on top of that. And then obviously for your summon spells, we want to go for Flash and we want to go for Smite. One other item I want to talk about quickly as well, one item that people might build, and I'll explain to you why I'm not going to build it, is Riftmaker. Now, the big thing with Riftmaker is that you need to make sure that you stay in combat for 3 seconds. And when you stay in combat for 3 seconds, then you'll be able to get the true damage and the healing afterwards. But the big thing with Fiddlesticks is that you want to kill people within 3 seconds. You want to burst them. You want to surprise them over the wall, and you want to use your full combo straight away. You don't want to wait until Riftmaker gets fully stacked. The problem is when you're jumping over the wall with Fiddlesticks and when you're using your full combo, by the time that Riftmaker gets fully stacked and you get the true damage and the extra healing, all your abilities are going to be on cooldown. So you're actually not going to get any value at all from Riftmaker. That's why I don't have it in the build. I don't think there's any other options. Again, you can go for things like Medjai's if you really want to, if you feel like you're going to get ahead, but there's not really any other AP items that you can go. But that's pretty much everything for Fiddlesticks. Again, really excited to show you all Fiddlesticks, and really happy to show you all Fiddlesticks. I'll probably show a gameplay as well. Unfortunately, there's no matchmaking. I can show you like a full gameplay scenario where I'm clearing through the jungle and I'm doing quite a lot in terms of damage and everything like that, and showing you all like jungle pathings, how to gank, etc, etc. I'll probably do that in a separate video, but I wanted to do a basic rundown first before we go into that, and hopefully I've talked about everything that you need to know with Fiddlesticks. Any questions, please let me know down in the comments. If there's any cool interactions that you think that might happen with Fiddlesticks, if there's any cool stuff that you think I should test, let me know down in the comments. I'll test it out for you and I will let you know. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hopefully you're looking forward to Fiddlesticks as much as I do, being able to jump over the wall, scare everyone. I think it's going to be a crazy jungler to play. But until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.